My third guy plays some games.
Alright, hi y'all, Weather Guy here. We are once again back with more of the great Ace Attorney Chronicles work, finishing up the second investigation phase of Twisted Karma, Last Battle. Very exciting stuff. We think we're honing in on the entire Reaper mystery, which is exciting. Where are we going? Where are we going? Back to the hospital. Let's see if Vigil has returned. Let's see. Perhaps, perhaps not. I don't know. Just had some delicious Subway. This is the ward where Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently. To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again. Poor sad guy. The lawyer. Hello again. Are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil? He had fainted before, if you recall. Yes, thank you. Somewhat better. I'm so sorry to have caused you to... it was because of me. If I hadn't exposed your secret and forced you to remember things you'd obviously try to forget. The prosecutor was here until a few moments ago, too. You just missed him. Oh, Kazuma beat us to it. Which is weird because we came straight from Kazuma to here, but okay. He said much the same as you. He was very apologetic. The truth is, I brought all this upon myself. Please don't think like that. Keeping it from Evie, my wife, all these years, carried such a sense of guilt. But that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well. You mean about your dismissal? Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident at all. He compensated me so generously for acting as his stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could to help. So perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along then. I'm sure this is just desserts for 10 years of lies and deception, but... It wasn't me that helped the professor escape 10 years ago, it wasn't me! I swear it! I swear it's true! Interesting. Oh, Mr. Vigil. I'm sure you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time, but... If possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened? Yeah, I want to know. I need to get all this off my chest. I just want someone to tell me what I should have done. Time to talk, bud. Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scotland Yard couldn't know about. Details of the Reaper's marks, yes. It was when he had to carry out those investigations that I would take his identification and impersonate him. You'd pretend to be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf? Oh no, never! A common street peddler couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation. All I would do is go to the specified location and make a little hoo-ha. Just something to leave an impression, so everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here. So, that's what you were doing on the day prior to the incident? Yes. He asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So as usual, I flashed the inspector's identification around and was very vocal about my presence. Then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed fraudsters. Yes. So you would always make a point of showing Gregson's identification generally being loud? That's what the inspector asked me to do, yes. Well, that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though. As you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. The following day, they kept their word and released me. Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however. We had arranged to meet in the Fresno Street room at 5 that day so I could report back to the inspector. At their agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot. Ah, I see. It was at midnight on 17th June 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled for the execution. But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it? Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan of escape. I hardly dare to imagine what a chilling plan it was. Barclay was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went in or out of the place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned. I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now. Coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed, correct? Yes. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in Lowgate Cemetery just behind the prison. Chief Warder first had to sign the necessary papers. And after that, no member of staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again. When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber. And we already know that the executioner was faulty. I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had that confirmation, I went into the mortuary to find a lone coffin, as usual. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork having checked the coffin, then nail it shut. For some reason that day, the coffin was already nailed shut. No! I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived. So you mean, coffin contained... Yes, I can only imagine that Asogi, having escaped his execution somehow, was alive inside the coffin. The coffin was then taken out through the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery. Presumably there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long. So in the early hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free. But in the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. What on earth really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night, I wonder? I'm afraid I really don't know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Asogi couldn't possibly have escaped that way without help from somebody working in the prison. And that somebody was not me. Interesting. Obviously you knew the man then. The professor, I mean. Genshin Asogi. Yes, I remember him well, in fact. Would you mind telling us what you know? Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary, they called for his execution to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity. The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it? It was a time of delicate diplomacy when Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. That meant that this potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly. The man had less than a week in total. As I was a chief warder, I oversaw his short stay in the cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience. What do you mean exactly? He was a killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. He was a gentleman and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd done, so I asked him one day. Those 5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken, were you really responsible? And he says, I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another man's life, yes. Interesting choice of words there. Following day, a close trial took place, and the verdict was no surprise. I wonder if he was innocent and he was bailed out because he was innocent. You know? And that now they're trying to kill all the people that bailed him out and knew the truth. Maybe. I don't know. That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something. Something Unusual. Something unusual? What? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. Alright, let's hear his will. As I said, it was on the night following his trial, after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds of the cells, and when I looked into the Asogi's, I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand. Ah, his last will and testament then, or presumably. As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back. But why did you find that so unusual? Isn't it normal for a man to pin a will when he knows his death is nigh? Yes, that's true. There were special conditions to Asogi's incarceration, you see. What sort of conditions? I think I've heard this before at some point. Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him. With one exception. Really, he was allowed his things? That is unusual, certainly. Of course, he'd been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy. At the same time, he was a guest in our country from the Empire of Japan. The powers that be were determined that his final days shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable. And what was the exception you mentioned? To the personal effects he was allowed. That's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Specifically, no pens or paper. So, he was prevented from leaving any written record of what had happened to him? Definitely framed. Yes, that was the long and the short of it. I have no idea where he obtained that paper. Any writing materials would have been confiscated from him upon his incarceration. As I said, he hid the paper behind his back and then he pleaded with me. What did you just hide behind your back? Please, turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline. But, you know it's against the rules. You're the only person who's seen. If you just agree to keep quiet. Alright then. What's on that paper? Last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. I can't wait to see what's in it. How can a will be a weapon? So I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing and I let him keep his will. But then later, it just seemed to vanish without trace. What do you mean, it vanished? It would seem that it isn't the end of the story of this mysterious will. Yeah, where has it turned up? I was the only person who saw Asogi's will, but somehow it disappeared. It was after Asogi's execution, which was actually an elaborate jailbreak. The warders gathered up Asogi's possessions that were in his cell. They were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see. To Port Kazuma. And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found among his personal effects? The will, I mean. That's right. Though I didn't search through them myself. But Governor Kaden was livid. He was screaming, "Can I have disappeared completely?" Interesting, Kaden's in on something. That doesn't quite make sense though, does it? In what way? Yeah, if you didn't know about the will, why do you think something disappeared? Well, we'd understood that only Mr. Vigil was aware of the will's existence. In which case, how did the prison governor know to look for it? Oh yes, you're right. I really don't know how he knew. But it certainly seemed as though he knew of the will's existence from the outset. Only he didn't refer to it as a will. What he said was the Asogi papers. Interesting. Asogi papers? I really can't tell you anything of the subsequent events. Because, well, of what happened. Your dismissal and the way you blocked it all from your memory. I'd forgotten all this until today. I don't suppose it's relevant to the case, though. Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing it with us, Mr. Vigil. We're very grateful. Fantastic. They have very similar voices, too. I shouldn't have done that. I'm afraid there's really little more I can tell you. My wife Evie will be here shortly, so I do hope I don't appear rude, but... No, not at all. Thank you again. What will become of you now? Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course. I imagine that once I'm fully recovered, I shall be arrested. I'm so sorry. Don't be, please. This was all my own doing. I always knew that this day would come. Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil. Oh, what happened? Before you go, there's just one thing. Oh, yes? What is it? You remembered something? The Asogi papers. I'd be very grateful if you'd make no mention of the things I told you about them. Presumably for some good reason. It's my understanding that their very existence is a closely guarded secret. If it became known that I'd remembered, well, it could be rather troublesome, I think. They would kill him. I understand. Some sort of will that Genshin Asogi pinned just before his death, which the man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder, perhaps it had something to do with his plan to escape. If there's anyone who might know more about a document that Kazuma's father left behind, it would be Mr. Vigil's governor! Yeah, that's true, we have to go talk to that nerd again. And we know precisely where we must go, back to Barclay Prison. Dude, we're doing a lot of investigating. So I think this guy's up to no good. That's such a cool pose, though. Oh, back again, are you? Yes. Hello. Heard all about your investigations. I read the reports just now. You found him, eh? Vigil. Yes, luckily. Well, anywho, the laddie doesn't work here no more, so your case is not to do with Barclay. I wouldn't like you to get the wrong idea about that. Of course, yes. Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so... Yes, we've seen his dismissal notice, haven't we? He was given the chop. I can. You can very well. So how about we handcuff Biscuit? They really are like little handcuffs, and as hard as irons too. So what brought you doom here today? Well, there's nothing else we'd like to ask you about. Something else. Is that so? We believe there might have been a document that disappeared from Genshin Asogi's cell. I think it's been called the Asogi Papers or something. This is so funny. That Mr. Vigil is like, don't tell anyone you know about these papers. And then our first order of business. We heard about these papers. I guess he just doesn't want us to tell it that it came from him. Did I no say? Rexon's death is not to do with things that might have happened at Barclay. Leave the past in the past, laddie. Let's not foot our boot with the irrelevant details. His expressions changed completely. We're clearly onto something here. Let's talk to him. That murderer's botched execution, and the whole miserable escape. They were Barclay's darkest hour, eh? Shocking embarrassment? Because a convict had to collaborate on the prison staff, you mean? Aye, for shame. Coroner who confirmed the death of the man after his execution, Courtney Scythe. My chief warder at the time, Vigil, who was in charge of the whole affair. Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it. The rascal wouldn't say otherwise, eh? More handcuffs? Oh, how could I say no? You can never have too much iron in your diet. Mr. Vigil was handed his dismissal notice as a result of what had happened. He was so despairing he jumped out of your office window, didn't he? I didn't like to say it, but that's just Vigil trying to get out of it. You don't think he wouldn't have jumped from the shock of his crimes being exposed, eh? I do. You wouldn't say otherwise, though, would you? Of course I can show all the responsibility myself. I shouldn't have let him deceive me. Actually, there's barely anybody that can what went on at the time now. With Gregson having been murdered and Dr. Syph forbidden from having any visitors. No visitors? Someone obviously doesn't want her giving anything away. Very good point. Well, we're not going home empty-handed. And I wouldn't dream of sending you packing with note, Kimma. Here, take a handcuff or two. Oh, well, it would be rude to say no. Wouldn't want to become anemic. I suppose if there's anybody who might still know about what happened back then, it'd be that last from the forensic division, Maria Gori. She's the one that's on the, she's someone that we're suspicious of, actually, because she's the one who did the latest coroner report, which didn't have the time of death. The autopsy report, rather. That's right, we met her. She was very creepy. Syph's daughter. She didn't have no more, just the one. The wee barons followed in her mom's footsteps. You didn't ever see her without a scalpel in her hand. Yeah, I guess that's why we did meet her briefly, right? Because she was going to come up again, surely. Terrifying. Dr. Syph's daughter, Maria Gori. Could do with talking to her. Let's hear about this. So, she's Dr. Syph's daughter, but her surname is Gori? Aye, there's some family history, I'm sure, but I didn't ken the ins and outs of it. She grew up watching her mom working with the bodies of folks who died in strange circumstances. Decided to do the same with her own life. I can understand it myself. Perhaps she was driven by a deep respect for her mother. Perhaps. Anywho, she was in charge of Gregson's autopsy, I believe. Right, and the coroner responsible for this incomplete report. Someone told me once that the wee lassie always loved her mom's stories about cutting up bodies. There's even a rumor that she used to listen to the funeral march as a lullaby. She's a creep. Well then perhaps her mother might have told her about the autopsy from the case 10 years ago. Aye, I'd say there's a fighting chance at least. After all, that was a life-changing case for all of us. You really need to speak to Miss Gori yourself about this, I think. Well, thank you very much. I'm no happy about any part of this. It took years for Londoners to finally forget the whole professor business. Can you no gear up on this, laddie? Stop asking pointless questions. I'm sorry, I don't like dredging up these painful memories for everyone. Can you no just stay away, no? Leave me alone and dinna come back here, eh? Immediately we talk about the papers. How do you come to keen about that, laddie? There's no many folk even here in the prison who've heard of those papers. Ah, well, I can't tell him Mr. Vigil told me. I'm afraid our sources must remain confidential, sir. We've been led to believe papers are actually a last will and testament. Is that right? Professors, or rather, Genshin Asogi's. Aye, that's right. You're well informed, Jimmy. Oh, is that the end of the silent treatment? Then after the convict's execution, it mysteriously vanished from his cell, didn't it? Havers, no, you're off at half-cock there. Think you didn't quite get your facts straight. It was there in the cell, exactly where it should have been. Oh, now what we heard elsewhere. Is he gonna procure them? Let me just have a wee hulk around in here, I'm sure I can find it. Aye, here you are. See? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi, written with a calligraphy brush. Of course I cannot read a word of those Japanese squiggles, but I mind it says he leaves all his worldly possessions to his son back in his homeland. Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it. So these are the Asogi papers. Aye, of course they are. Papers written by Asogi, nae doubt about it. So why were they such a big secret? Why does he care so much about it if it's just that, you know? There's no mystery here, laddie, that's your lot. After all, the stramish of that slayster of an execution. We sent the man's possessions back to his clan in Japan, and that was the end of it. Think we ought to make a record of this, Mr. Ryu? Just in case. Absolutely, we want to look at that right away. One thing before you go on your way, Mr. Ryu. Yes? Those papers are now to do with Gregson's death. I prefer it if you didn't make no mention of them outside this office. Or rather, I wouldn't just prefer it, consider it an order from the highest levels of our government. I understand. We're gonna bring it up again. I, Genshin Asogi, hereby request that upon my death any and all material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London be delivered to my son Kazuma Asogi in the Empire of Japan. Steep says I accept my fate in this foreign land and the knowledge that I will never see my homeland, family, or everything. Very good. This is not the real papers, this is a fake of some sort. Alright, let's move. Let's go talk to our next person. Which is going to be... maybe not. Oh, we need to come back here to ask more. Okay. New information? No. Oh, present the papers probably to him. Kazuma, what do you make of this? There's only one place where defense and much. Oh my god, this is important though, bud. Bud. Why are you like this? Let me check the moves, see if there's anywhere else first. Yeah, there's something else we need to do here. Anything else to examine that we missed? It seems like it's going to be something that we need to present that I'm not sure of. But that's okay, because we don't have strikes to worry about. We can just trial and error at leisure, right? Till we figure it out. But I believe we examined everything. Yeah. We looked at all the stuff. Yeah. Alright. So we have to present something else because there's no new talking options. We already did the armband previously. Huh. What else would we want to show him? Maybe the autopsy report? Let's go ahead and try this, even though I feel like it's probably not it. Oh! It is it. Okay. This came up in the trial, didn't it? As something a little dubious, I mean. The fact that no time of death was recorded on Inspector Gregson's autopsy report. Yes, there were some unexpected turns in the courtroom earlier. The suggestion you came up with certainly took everyone by surprise. The idea that the victim died the previous day at some other location is quite something. Well, considering when the pocket watch had stopped, and scorch marks on the candle, certainly a distinct possibility the evidence and the scene both point to it. To be honest, it bothered me too, so I paid a visit to the autopsy room earlier. The coroner responsible wasn't there, but I got a name. It's Dr. Gore. Yep, we already went through this. If it wouldn't trouble you, Kazuma, we'd very much like to speak with the coroner too. Of course, the last thing I want is for anything to be brushed under the carpet. Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory is behind Lowgate Cemetery. At Barclay Prison, you mean? Ah, you know it, do you? Prison where my father was incarcerated, and robbed of his life. Kazuma! Well, thank you. We'll pay a visit to the laboratory later today. Oh? Ryu, I want to thank you. What for? For this. You safeguarded the soul of the Asogi clan. Well, it is a famous sword that's been in your family for generations. My only slight regret is I never got the chance to draw it before I returned it to you. Kuruma is said to have been forged by a master swordsmith during the Sengoku Warring States period. I come from a long lineage of warriors, many of whom were expert swordsmen. Well then, you're a chip off the old block, I'd say. This blade, Kuruma, is a symbol of the Asogi clan's honor and might. Apparently, one of my father's apprentices even took the blade's name for a surname. Really, Kuruma? Does sound formidable, that's for sure. 16 years ago, when my father was a visiting student here in London, he had this sword forever at his side, which is why it means so much to me that I have it by my side again now too. And that is all thanks to you. It was an honor. Now, I have preparations to make for tomorrow. Perhaps I said a little too much. Kazuma, you've changed. No, Ryu. I haven't changed at all. It's you who's changed. I can completely understand your resentment of Lord Van Zieks given what happened. The fact is, those events in this case are, well, unrelated? Is that what you want to say? How can you be so sure? What do you mean? Never mind. That man is the Reaper, and it's for that reason that the Inspector was killed. I'm going to prove as much in court tomorrow. By whatever means necessary. Can't let you do that, Kazuma. I know you'll do what you have to as a lawyer, but I'm sure I don't need to tell you that I won't be taking any prisoners in the courtroom. I would expect nothing less. Until tomorrow then, in the Old Bailey. Alright, that's it. That's all we're doing for today. Next time we're going to go talk to Gory, and then who knows what's next. This is a very long investigation phase. Holy moly, look at all these locations. Man, and we still have another section of trial to go. That's crazy. But that's all I got. Thank y'all so much for watching. Y'all are amazing. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Make sure you take care of others, and I will see you next time. Peace out.